because we're cruising in that area
Yeah,
see.
test it.
from
I-
the 5th to the 25th.
Steve, whenever you're ready.
The beginning will be there.
We start with, we had Turkey in the beginning and then all around Greece, then coming back on that side. And ending up in Trieste and Venice.
Other side,
Yeah, the other side.
yeah, I like your spooky songs.
You like those? I like the.
Right.
Maybe get a.
Okay, good morning, everyone, to a special meeting. The planning board, September.
One more time, John. You're muted.
Okay, Alan, can you hear us okay? Are you there?
He's out there on the
It takes a while for the
shoreline of Lake Superior.
I can hear you now, but my internet is really bad, so I may be coming in and out.
Okay, okay. All right, so we got seating for Rick. Okay. All right, so cell phones, can we just mute them, the ringers, if you have them? Thank you. Here we got that done. Okay. The consultant. RFQ. So the
Should we pass these out?
Rich, Bill,
I think everybody has that.
and Rick were a little subcommittee. And you guys, oh, and Steve, you were involved also.
As well.
Yep.
Okay.
Go.
So maybe you guys could start a little report on what your findings were, or what you come
Yeah,
up with.
so I think we went into a lot of detail. I'll start it off and I'll
Okay.
just jump in and or get help from folks as needed. But I think we talked a little bit about the rationale between doing an RFQ and an RFP last time, if I'm not mistaken. So we I think had made a decision to move ahead with an RFQ.
Yeah,
It's a fairly boilerplate template that get used for big things, the wastewater treatment engineering work. So it's not a trivial document, and what it does is, and this is maybe a little bit of a refresher, is gives candidates the background for what we're up to, and then gives us a little bit of an idea of whether or not they've done their due diligence to find out what we're looking for. We specify some very specific things, which are in, I think they're still in bold here.
Yes.
Maybe you could put my glasses on so I could look at it. We'll go over that in a second, just so the idea is that we would continue to move forward with this RFQ with the ask as specified in the document. And then try to accelerate this a little bit with regard to the timeline for getting, if we can get this out, everybody approves it. We'll get this out shortly to a list of a more broad distribution of folks that we would like to get responses from, and then target some very specific firms based on some review that we've done of these firms and their capabilities that they show on like their websites what we've seen from or heard from other examples of what towns use. So if we'd like to, we can go through, maybe if you haven't read it yet, maybe everyone just read through the section in bold. It's this sort of second paragraph there. Town of Waterville Valley will evaluate submissions and select a qualified consulting firm. If you just go through the list of tasks that we'd be looking for, these are things that we felt strongly we should include in this. So it goes above and beyond what we currently get from Tara.
I have only one question in reading, and I did an outstanding job. A lot of it is. Whatever. The question I have for you and or Rich is. Under the current consultant that we use, does the select board ever use that individual? And based on what is here and here, it seems like that person might also be a resource periodically for the select board. Is that something?
I think over the years, the select board may have asked Tara a question or two
So
on some issue involving land use or code enforcement. But beyond that, the select board has not used that Tara really. This potentially does allow the select board to use this particular entity, but this is for the planning board and all the work for the planning board that's coming up. But yeah, it's possible there could be something.
The only reason I ask is that it is something that when we say support, we talk about the planning board. As I read it, and I don't want, I'm not on the select board now at my age, I don't want to get involved with the select board. But it seems like something that the select board or the ZBA
No, or the Conservation Commission.
or the conservation. So what I was looking at. Support of the planning board and other possible town entities. That's the only thing that I was, am I being too?
No, you have code enforcement consultation.
Oh, I mean,
all of
right.
the
Roads,
issues
pedestrianization.
That's so that if you put something that says that. That opens it up to all of the things that are possible with somebody that we're looking at with these qualifications. That was the only thing that I had on this.
Kathy,
Can we just read this into the record so that anybody
Good
that
idea.
comes back and.
yes, or
pours on.
I mean, if you could ask the,
Know what
the
we're talking
official
about, 'cause
reader.
those are all good points, but just so that everybody,
so,
No,
can read it.
so we need someone to
I'll
read
read,
it,
you want
please.
me to read it?
yes,
Wait,
Am I just reading this one paragraph?
yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes,
The town of Waterville Valley, New Hampshire will evaluate submissions and select a qualified consulting firm to provide land use, planning, engineering, and related administrative and legal support services, including, but not limited to, support of the town planning board and consulting input on matters such as plan reviews, regulation adoption and amendments, code enforcement consultation, attending meetings and advising the board on site plan review, subdivisions, and related zoning and other land use matters. Administration and compliance with any applicable state and federal laws and regulations, coordination and consultation with other town boards on land use and planning matters, such as roads, pedestrianization, conservation, etc.
the only other thing I'd like to put into the permanent record. Is on the. We have a list of items that must be included in the RFQ. Specific items,
Yeah,
I can, if you want,
yeah, go for it.
all right. One is the professional qualifications of the firm. Two, current workload and availability of personnel to be assigned to the project, including resumes. Three, a list of 3 to 5 references from clients with similar support arrangements. 4, a list of subcontracted professional services, e.g. engineering, surveying, legal, etc. Close paren. 5, a brief discussion of the general approach for providing the requested services. I think that also should be.
Yeah.
And I did it for you.
You did.
That's a good.
Oh, and then I think it's great. Do we want to include though? I think that so much of the support, at least from the work that we've been involved in from Tara, has been the actual writing. So there's, consulting and that could be maybe, but we need help with like literally somebody writing it and for us to review. So I don't know if that's
Kathy,
just.
we had talked about that, and
Okay.
we really want to get away from, they'll give us the examples that we looked at yesterday. They give you recommendations,
Mhm.
but they're also gonna help the admin person. And we need to assume some of that.
So we would have then an admin person that would actually be then looking at,
Right? I mean,
and
they give us the
interpreting.
recommended
So-
language. We wouldn't be spending the hourly rate for this entity from what we talked about yesterday. This entity to actually produce the documents will do that.
So
They'll
we're
give
gonna
us the
assume that
wording.
responsibility
They'll
is what
give
you're
us the
saying.
wording. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if
Do
I
we have
said
somebody
something
that's
wrong.
already?
No, the
is that somebody we have
recommendation,
to hire? Is that
No,
somebody
it's
we-
Alicia.
No, no,
Doesn't
that's
have-
Alicia would
Alicia,
do it.
yeah.
She is
Alicia would
she
reply
already
the
is-
document
yeah.
that would then, we would review it, whatever, discuss it, and then that document would go forward then to the town.
Yeah, for in whatever case, but the consultant's going to be here when you're discussing it. And making sure that it gets transposed correctly and all that. They just won't be physically producing the document.
And they'll be reviewing it and all of that.
My question is, whoever we get on board, do we care?
attending meetings.
I think
And then-
that's the critical piece of number 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Number 5,
Number 5.
the general approach, how do you approach
Yeah.
your support of the planning board? Are you there in town? Are you on Zoom?
Yeah.
That would be part of the interview process.
Yes, that's number 5. I agree.
Yeah, we didn't want to be spoon-fed. But to have strong recommendations on how we should proceed with the handling of any problem. Because there are things that are gonna happen in the future as we anticipate, that there'll be some big development here. And that a consultant who is broadly based and can make recommendations on a number of things are, I think, most helpful. And we can assemble the document and say, this is what we're gonna present to town. Is that okay? Pardon me.
I agree. I mean, I don't ever felt spoon fed because I feel like it was just the plant or Tara seemed to be very intimately tied to, she knew what was in our ordinances and stuff. So when she was able to write them up and, so it certainly is gonna put a lot more onus, I think, on the planning board. That's,
I think it should.
we really need to make sure that we're,
Training. will be
we
part
are
of it.
going through,
Yeah.
we know what's in here and that we're, I
think-
think it's definitely puts more
It should.
responsibility on
Sure.
this room. Which is
As it
It's
should.
fine. just making sure everyone, is aware of that.
I think that the idea here is that we don't have anything humongous coming at us in the short term, but so we would use that period of time to get whoever this is up to speed on our ordinances, what we do for zoning. And eventually, we're gonna have something big come down the pike, as Bill's sort of alluding to.
Yes.
And at that point, they're gonna be able to advise us and help us do the right thing.
Yeah, something's going to happen in C1. And the sooner, pardon? Please help us. Something will happen.
Yeah.
And it will be a large project. And a broad-based consultant who has a number of services available that we don't. And expertise in particular that we don't have. That is, the planning board is not expected to be engineer, surveyor, etc. And the purpose of this document is to cast a broad net to see how many qualified consulting services there are out there who show interest in working with Waterville Valley. And then to have the working group interview or first make a matrix to evaluate, to determine our scale of evaluation, which of these consultants we think rank higher, and be able to present that as a means of distinguishing one candidate from another.
This is gonna be.
And then interview who, you know, we come. The ones that we are most interested in would be recommended. And see whether you all agree.
And we have to.
Or
do
4 out of
this.
7.
Right.
I mean, as you know. Bill is obvious, as we look at, we know. You can see one behind me. Something is gonna happen there in the next. Relatively short term, which is 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Something like that is going to come in our lap. And, you know, that's a humongous project.
Part of our thinking here too was to get someone on board at the beginning of next year. So that that firm can become familiar. And we can become familiar with that firm. And perhaps we'll have a year of just
Getting to know.
normal business, getting to know each other, a site plan review here or there. You know, at the scale of, say, the recent one we did for the
What,
pickleball
pickleball?
court,
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
and build up, you know, and build up those relationships so that when the major projects come our way, you know, we have that a good feeling that we can work with this firm and they will be reviewing it. And not only in terms of compliance, but with our ordinance, but also state, federal law, as well as engineering aspects to it, all of that. So,
And we know we have work to do on our site plan regulation.
Mm.
That is, some revisions been pointed out to us that there are areas that need to be revised.
Yes, Margaret.
I just had a question in terms of understanding. I understand there's a date by which they must submit. What is the relationship of that date to the other two that are mentioned at the end? There's one for all questions and there's one. For
Yeah, there's, so we'll send this document out.
Mhm.
We'll get responses. We'll set a date when people can send us questions about this document.
Right.
We want to make sure that whatever answers we provide to them
Mhm.
are provided to anyone in base information.
Okay.
So those 2 dates at the end will be during the preparation of their submission. And then, but we have to cut it off at a certain date to give everybody a week to finish their
Okay.
presentation. And if you remember those packets that the engineers sent us on the wastewater treatment plan, that's exactly what we're looking for here. And then the subcommittee, the 5 people that were involved in developing this will go down through those submissions,
Mhm.
identify 2 or 3 to interview, use them based on the matrix,
Mhm.
and then do an interview, track and grade the interview results, and come back to the planning board with here here's the big group, here's the 2 or 3 that we interviewed, here's the results of that interview process, and here's the recommended number 1. The subcommittee members say, yes, that is the firm that we wanna talk to, have them come in and talk to the planning board as a whole. And if everybody is in agreement at that point, then we would ask them to provide us with the money side of this. Right, so yes, we wanna have you as our consultant. How much would you charge? What would your fee structure be? We can look at that and make a decision as to whether or not to include that in the budget. Or say, nope, that's too rich for us, we're gonna go to number 2. And then bring number 2 in and talk to the board. So
So-
everything is not money related until the very end,
Which is our standard.
which
Right.
is our standard RFQ.
So the purpose of the addendum is to make sure that all parties have answers to the questions that were asked during the question period, and the addendum goes out, what, a week before
Or the due date.
the due date? Okay,
Probably have like a 3-week. Most of these firms that we'd be reaching out to have that standard package already.
Mhm.
They just need to tailor it to
Right.
Waterville Valley
Mhm.
and answer our specific questions, but most of them have, this is the history of our firm and these are the types of things that we do and towns that we work with. It's pretty standard for a professional firm to be
Probably an
getting.
example of 2 projects they've worked on.
Yeah, exactly. They've got all that prepackaged. So,
It will be interesting to see the amount of effort they make into researching Waterville Valley.
Right.
And their response to us.
and that is an evaluation criteria that we typically use in the initial evaluation matrix. Do they know about the conceptual plan? Do they know about our master plan? What do they know about the town?
To me, what is gonna be very interesting. Oh, well, we're not the smallest town, I don't think. In New Hampshire, but we are one of them. And we are unique as far as I'm concerned. I've always considered Waterville Valley to be a unique town.
Certainly has unique people in it.
Well, like you.
Sure.
But we have a unique town of everything that's going on here. It's gonna be very interesting to see. I don't know.
Talked about,
How many-
in the working group, a couple
How do
of
you wanna do
things about our discussion there. You would be surprised that even a small town like Waterville Valley can generate interest among firms. Take a look at our wastewater treatment facility. We have one of the largest firms in the world that deal with wastewater treatment facilities bid, and they actually turned out to be our number 1 choice, and they are now working with us on that.
I think you're paying them a
Black-
little bit more.
Well, no, they are worldwide. They
No,
are.
no, no, I know the firm.
On the money side, that, again, that's why you go through the RFQ process, because you choose who you really want.
Yeah.
And then see if you.
See if you can afford
You
it.
can
So,
afford it.
just because we're a small town, I just respond to that part of it.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily mean that the larger firms are the more experienced, the firms with the widest span of services, may not want to participate, in this. And you have to think too, that the project, at least the conceptual design that we've been briefed on by Tyrell. There are firms out there who may want to be part of that as part of their professional qualifications. I mean, it's a big deal. It's a major a development in a ski resort, and that's another thing, you know, what.
So this is going to be submitted to firms other than those which we would normally consider to be New Hampshire firms. We're going to go beyond that.
We're gonna do, yes, we're gonna target specifics, probably New England region,
Oh, that
East Coast type
that was
thing.
my,
But
yes,
who knows if we can, who
No,
knows
no,
if
no.
they'll be interested,
Right.
but we can certainly reach out to them and say, hey, if you're interested, please. I
There-
mean, we've
right.
used
That would
a
be-
firm out of Vermont for a lot of the pedestrianization study and things like that, so we don't have to just.
we're not gonna focus, that was my point, we're not gonna focus exclusively on New Hampshire firms.
Correct,
There are firms probably throughout New England.
Yeah.
Especially that could be reached out to in this.
sure. And if they can
That's
do
what we usually do.
90% of their
Yes.
work remotely and they just come in for meetings or
Yeah.
whatever, it might work out financially, we'll see. And if they have resources in a legal way or professional engineers on staff, or if they have, surveyors or other specialists, there are other things they could potentially do for the town and other areas they can
Which is why I wanted
consult with us.
other entities.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the principle behind this document, to cast a broad net.
Yeah.
We don't know what the response is going to be, and the example of the wastewater treatment facility is a good example of how things can turn out that were not anticipated.
$40 million.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but that's a 30 or $40 million development.
That development is,
So-
Yeah.
that
Maybe-
development is more than that.
Yeah,
Right, so there are
So-
people interested
so
in that
there
kind
may
of
be
scope.
people interested in being on the town side
Yeah.
of that development so that they can
No,
put it in
no,
their
I
resume.
wanted to make sure that we're not doing it exclusively to the firms that are here. I know there are firms.
Yeah.
Especially when you get down to our neighbor to the south.
Mhm.
That really, when that happens in the foreseeable future, we might want on our team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Well,
the
I think
principle.
Black and Beach is out of Massachusetts, right? Yeah,
Well, yeah,
many
their
places, but their
world
local office
headquarters is in
Their home quarters is
out
that.
west.
out west, but they have a office in Boston, was it?
Mhm.
Yeah, they are,
Yeah.
they're
so-
an international, they're a major national firm.
The whole idea behind doing this is we know we need a strong team to handle that project.
As well as the gondola. I don't know if the gondola.
Well, all of it
The
together.
gondolas.
Yeah.
Gondola, I mean, and. we
Okay,
need-
so at this point, what does the board need to do?
Just, are you
Approve
okay?
that.
We're gonna send
We're
that
gonna-
out. We're gonna meet next week. We're gonna put in the dates. We're gonna decide the firms that we're gonna target specifically with a letter and, a more personalized outreach. And then we'll get that document posted next week and start the time clock.
So we just need to agree on it.
You're just, yeah, if
And we
you
need to
don't have
vote
any
on it.
edits to that, we're
Would
gonna
that be
go with.
appropriate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, can we move along and vote on that?
Can I make
Any
one
further
amendment?
discussion?
The
Just
one
1 minute,
amendment?
please.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I think I'm speaking. Do we need to have a vote? Everyone agree on that? And do we need to spend any more time on going over this?
Well, I would, Mr. Chair, I would take a motion to approve this and then have a discussion. A second then discussion, or
After
you
the
can
vote.
do the amendments right there and then
Yeah.
have the vote, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do, but
Yeah.
Mike,
The only amendment that I would consider is after we're in these bolded paragraph to support the town planning board and other town entities.
It already says that at the
Does
end
it
of
say
it.
it?
Says it at the end of the
Says-
paragraph.
Coordination and consultation with other town boards
Okay,
on land use and planning matters such as roads, pedestrian, and conservation, etc. And they didn't mean other towns outside of Waterville Valley, they meant the ones that are
Ours.
here.
Okay,
Yeah, I think we keep the focus up top on the planning board.
okay.
I think that would be, and then it sort of sneaks its way in and.
Snakes its way in.
With the way which you're saying,
I'd like, well, doesn't matter.
gets in.
So can we take a little vote on this and then we'll do a little more discussion?
For a motion?
Okay,
For our motion, need a motion,
okay.
Bill,
I move that the planning board accept this RFQ document for circulation to candidate firms as amended.
Second.
okay, Kathy seconds that, so let's take a vote, we'll start with you, Rich,
Yes.
Yes.
you're seated.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
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 Mike, sorry, Mike.
T.
I know. Okay, that's done, let's do a little more discussion, any further discussion?
So, but then this document, when it's ready to go, that'll be on the website, the town
Yeah, it'll be
website, so
on
if
the
anybody
website,
wanted to, they
and
could take a
we'll
look
post
at
it
it
on
and
All right,
And
yeah,
it's in-
read the
that's
whole
very
story.
important, yeah.
That's all.
Does Alicia have the ability to accept more of this, like a bigger workload from us? If we're not gonna put in that they're writing the stuff for us, does Alicia have the ability to do that with her current workload?
Well, we are looking for continued admin support to some extent. In conversation with Alicia, she's, she's very comfortable facilitating document disbursements amongst the board, doing the minutes, coordinating the meetings. Where she is a little uneasy is writing of the notices, and that's one thing I would hope that we can partner with this new firm to help provide some support, and if not, at least give
Yeah.
us the training that we need to
Great.
to get it done internally.
Right, the legalese of it all.
Yeah,
They would draft the language and everything else.
Yeah.
Okay,
I just wanna make sure we don't burden her.
right, I agree with that, yeah. Steve, I just have a question for you, we kind of included you in this search, this RFQ. With the subcommittee, do you have any comments, any thoughts, anything else to add?
no, I think the direction that we're going in is a great direction. I value the fact that we'll actually be able to target. A half dozen or so of these qualified firms, because I think that just casting a broad, net into the interwebs wouldn't produce a lot of responses, but some targeted emails to these firms, I think, should produce some interest.
Okay,
Which is our standard, the town standard procedure.
good. Any other further discussion, Mike?
dates for this. What dates are being put on?
That was, Mark said that we're gonna do that at their next.
We're gonna do that either Monday or Tuesday next week. We're gonna get the dates, fill in the dates.
Get
It'll
this
be
out.
in the month of October.
Yeah.
It'll go
Gotta be
through the
pretty
month.
long and gotta give them 3-4 weeks
Oh, yeah,
to produce this, so it's endish.
Yeah, but the idea is that they get this out next week.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Have a meeting of the
basically,
working group.
so the general plan is to get this out to people by endish of October, so that
you mean September?
Next week,
I'm sorry, get this out next week, well, October's not beginning of the week.
The submissions will be at the end, towards the end of October.
And hopefully that we will be able to review the subcommittee's findings November meeting.
If not at the November meeting, there may need to be a special meeting, but I would assume that we would have somebody by the end of November.
I would anticipate a special meeting.
Yeah,
Given
probably a
the
special.
workload with zoning amendments and whatnot.
I'm just, I think if we're gonna have this entity in place
Well, we
by
need,
January,
yeah, we need to have a number from them by December to include in the budget process, so we don't want to leave it much further than the end of November to actually have an agreement.
And we have a motion on the table, any further discussion? On this?
We voted.
We
Yeah,
did,
we
Bill.
You
Another
voted.
vote, I mean, I know, but we're,
We're done.
You're done.
okay,
good.
yeah, but everyone agree?
Yep.
There were no votes.
So no.
Okay, We're
No,
done.
no.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Morgan second that. Everyone okay?
Yeah.
Done.
Hi.
Thank you.
Yeah.